Unprotected. The sunset splits the chest of the sky, cracks it wide, lights up linear layers of clouds like ribs. The beating heart of the sinking sun seeps color into space until the whole inverted bowl is overwhelmingly alive. Red and orange and pink and flesh. It is the color of muscle tissue, of organ meat. The land of the eternal blue sky stretches out before me, flayed below, exposed as gold. Midas was here, scrawled in shadow and light. I am squatting over a pit toilet, my ass bared to a wooden board haphazardly nailed to two others. I am in Mongolia, in the Gobi Desert, peeing into a hole in the ground with the wind spattering spray at my ankles. Here, way out on the endless steppe, I attend to my most basic needs. I pee outside, in plain view of 12,000 acres of semi-arid desert, 40 or so goats, and a Mongolian family of 4, who at least have the courtesy to not look directly at me. I pull out my tampon, but don't drop it into the pit. Pack in, pack out. I dangle it by the string and then fling it a foot or so in front of me to retrieve once I've got my pants on. My right knee is prone to slipping out, so if I put too much pressure on it, so I need to brace myself on something whenever I squat down, or I risk falling over screaming in agony, pee everywhere. If there's nothing to hold on to, I'll just favor my left leg, which squatting squarely to one side, which makes it hard not to pee on my pants or on my boots. And so all day, every day, I spend a huge portion of time thinking about when I should pee, where I should pee in order to stay clean, have privacy, and maybe have a rock or a stick or a wall to hold on to so my knee stays in its socket. I think about whether or not I should try to pee now, or should I wait until later, and do I possibly have to poop? And can I seriously have to pee again, or is that just my period soaking through my tampon? Is there a pit toilet here, or will I have to bury my shit under rocks? How far will I have to walk to find a dip in the landscape where I can squat out of sight? Is now a good time to try, or is there some other thing I'm supposed to be doing? Some cultural expectation I'm undoubtedly failing? After 4 p.m., I'm afraid to drink any liquid at all in case, God forbid, I have to wake up in the middle of the night to go pee because I've been warned about Mongolian dogs mistaking me for an intruder while they protect the goat and the sheep herd from, get this, wolves. But moments like this, when my pants are already down around my ankles, when I've determined that the time is right to relieve myself, I experience a temporary but acute relief knowing that for perhaps the next hour, I won't need to worry about needing to go. So, I insert a new tampon, toss all my trash into my own private little pile. I stand and pull my pants up, stepping away from the hole. This particular pit toilet is nicer than most. It sports a pile of sand and a shovel. So I dump some sand into the pit, making it fresh for the next guest. My toilet kit is spread out at my feet. And I pull a few squares of paper from a Pinocchio-themed toilet paper travel pack I purchased at a Korean-owned convenience store back in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia's capital. I scoop up my pile of refuse, shielding my bare hand with only a single square of tissue, and shove the offensive handful deep into a quart-sized Ziploc that contains all of my toileting trash. I press the air out of the bag as I zip it snugly shut, then put that bag into yet another plastic bag, a black one you can't see through, just in case some curious child or well-meaning adult unwittingly goes through my backpack. And then it all gets rolled up and placed inside a blue and white canvas bag that says Tom's shoes on the side. Tom is my toilet kit. and he holds fresh tampons, pads, wet wipes, toilet paper, and the black plastic bag of human waste. Once Tom is repacked, I put him inside my day pack and back on my back, where he stays all the time, every day, because I never know when I will need him. Next time you see a traveler in the backcountry and you wonder what she's packing, remind yourself, it's shit and pee and used tampons. Had I been born in another era, I might have been an explorer or a merchant on the Silk Road. I'm comfortable on the move, somewhere between here and there, on a bus or a boat, on a mule or a motorbike. I wear my sense of self on my back like a snail. When I travel, it's like I'm looking for lost breadcrumbs, clues I left behind some many lives ago. They are supposed to lead me back where I belong, to a root half pulled from the earth. I'm hunting for my history, sifting through bales of spices and platters of meat, through green canopies and orange dunes, silver crags and translucent pools, and somewhere I know a bell will ring. I'll feel something, a connection ancient to the ground, a touchdown. I pound stamps into my passport for this purpose. Brazil, Bahamas, Bangkok, Belfast, Paraguay, El Salvador, Edinburgh, Istanbul, Argentina, Amsterdam, Dublin and Dubai, Indeje, Mauritania, Mexico City, Uruguay. I fly to Rio and Rome, to Athens and Troy, to Idra and Zurich, Barcelona, Belize, Kampala, Kigali, Bath and Beijing. I go everywhere. I try everything while I'm waiting for that bell to ring. Had I been born in another era, I might have been a peddler or a pirate or a prophet. But of course, had I been born in another era, I would have needed to be a man. And maybe that's true in this era too. Most of the places I like to go cause people to balk, to draw back, to suck their breath in through their teeth, especially if I'm going alone. As a woman, alone? Is that safe? Yes, I am a woman, trying to understand the difference of what that means to you and what it means to me. My first brother was stillborn. We inhabited the same space, he and I. I followed him in, and I saw he had left some things behind. He left me his audacity, his certainty, his clarity of purpose, his masculinity was there for me in my mother's womb. And when her body began to turn me, when her muscles moved my head to face the ground and whispered change was coming, I pulled him from her insides like scooping batter from a bowl. I didn't know what I would need out here, so I took everything I saw, everything there was. From the infinite firmament, I pulled down gumption and grit and kindness and spit and vinegar and compassion and a tender heart, but a warrior spirit. I called it, I claimed it, I aimed at the light, and I came out howling. I was born to believe that I was different and special and chosen and called. I didn't know for a long time how many of us feel that way. That maybe that's part of what being human is. You know, I didn't imagine that 37 would look like this when I was younger. I've built a company, a community, a body of work. I bought a house. I planted a garden. I pay taxes. I try to make a difference. I give time. I give money. I try to give a shit and not find it all pointless or hapless or hopeless, but I didn't aim my arrow at this target, not exactly. I didn't try to not have a partner or a family, to set forth fully on my own. I'm not anti-domestic, not single as a position or a persuasion. There was really no occasion. I'm not fed up, not fried, just maybe untried. And time keeps passing by. My friends and siblings are married, having babies, while I collect art and go out to eat instead of cook. And don't call to check in. And when the baby calls, I can hand it back. And still, people call me Mama Bear. Like the words don't carve the shape of non-existent cubs in my imagination. People call me maternal. They try to take cover in the shade of what they imagine to be my hoop skirt. I gather them close. I coo and I calm until suddenly I'm compelled to fling them away, afraid the card I'm holding is just the old maid. I'd rather be Blackbeard, Balboa, Ms. Lewis and Clark. The itch to go away again has been growing. For years, Mongolia has stuck in my mind like a thorn, pricking me, resurfacing on every travel bucket list. I know nearly nothing about the culture or the climate. I just have a picture in my head of grass, endless grass, dotted with an occasional circular tent, a nomad family, a herd of goats. Mongolia is landlocked, untamed, with snorting horses and thin, dry air and room to breathe, I imagine. There are no marble columns, no buried catacombs, no powdered wigs, no Caesar, just Chinggis, the Khan, thundering across the steppe like a storm. I imagine myself a nomad too. On a clear day, a human standing on flat ground can see 3 miles in every direction before the Earth's surface curves out of sight, but only if nothing is standing in the way. I decide to buy a ticket. Somehow, I know that my home of Denver and Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia, are sister cities. I share this trivia with my friend Veronica and her husband Jim. We are sitting in their kitchen one night before Veronica was admitted permanently to the hospital for liver cancer. Jim and Veronica know some trivia of their own. They tell me Mongolia has the highest occurrence of liver cancer mortalities in the world, nearly 6 times the global average. One of Veronica's doctors had mentioned an experimental treatment available in Ulaanbaatar, and I joked that I will find out about this treatment as soon as I get there, and I will smuggle it home for her. So many vowels, all strung together, Ulaanbaatar. Ulaanbaatar. Ulaanbaatar rhymes with daughter. That's how I remember it. In July, Veronica dies. Quickly, cruelly, just 53 years old. We sit by her bedside at the Denver hospice, her husband and teenage children and I, their friends and family members, and I sweep her hair into a bun we're all certain she would hate, but we have to do something, and why is she wearing pink? She never wore pink. Veronica dies just days before her children's birthdays, both clustered in the same hot week of July. But now it's August, and it's time to fly. Senbeno, Minimir, Andrea, Bartla, fucking, it looks like an L, but it sounds like an S, or a shla, Barshla. We definitely do not have this sound in English. I'm on the Trans-Mongolian Railway, traveling from Beijing. I have a Mongolian language app on my phone, and I practice saying hello and thank you with the train attendants. The 3 Italian women sharing my train car don't even bother to learn a single word. It's a theme that I notice everywhere that I stay, later in the hostel in the city. Travelers from the US, Australia, all over Europe, South Africa, Russia, Canada, Korea. I meet almost no one who tries to pronounce even a single Mongolian word. The app was free, and it has audio. All I have to do is copy the sounds. One of the train attendants pulls out her phone and opens Facebook. She wants me to search for my profile so we can become friends. Later, when I'm back on Wi-Fi, I scroll through her posts. They're all written in Cyrillic, but the photos of her children feel familiar. Smiles and milestones, school uniforms. Central Ulaanbaatar is gray and blue and boxy. The architecture is cold, and it smacks of Soviet influence. Mongolia, wild, breathless, matchless Mongolia, is held in careful check by her massive neighbors, Russia to the north and China to the south, two global superpowers poised on her perimeter. No one wants her grass, but beneath the sea of stems, below the thorny tufts of gray and green, under the dirt and crumbling rocks and the dinosaurs frozen in time, there are precious metals buried deep. And while Mongolia is busy riding wild horses and coaxing eagles from their nests, China and Russia reach their grubby fingers under her skirt and try to take a thing that isn't theirs. This is clear to me in the capital, a city that shouldn't be, a permanent place for impermanent people. The store signs are a mixture of languages and alphabets: Russian, English, Turkish, Korean. The whole town has the feel of a hastily poured parking lot, but the concrete can't stop the feeling of stirring, of coming and going. There's a tumbleweed blowing, rolling down the middle of the road, and the people passing through are from everywhere going anywhere. Tall and slim, wide and small, a spectrum of browns and golds. The people are moved by wind and mountains, and the concrete cannot catch them. I cannot wait to leave town, to go where they are going. I'm heading to the Gobi Desert, where for 12 days I'll trek from one family to another as part of a cultural homestay program. I'll spend each night sleeping in the family's extra ger, which is what they call those circular tents made of felted sheep and goat's wool. I learned that yurt is a Russian word. Mongolians say ger. And since they invented the thing and threw the Soviets out in '91 when they became the region's first democracy, we'd better stick with ger. I'll be the only traveler, not part of any group. The families I stay with won't speak English, and I don't speak Mongolian. I won't have anyone to talk to. I'll have no choice but to go with the flow, eat what they feed me, drink my water boiled, and swig erig, the famous fermented mare's milk, from a bowl. The tour is called the Great Gobi Desert Nomadic Quest. I found it on Google. At orientation, the company provides me with a thin, spiral-bound booklet. Inside is a description of the major destinations, an overview of the cultural do's and don'ts, and an extremely limited English to Mongolian dictionary. I flip through it eagerly. Hello, how are you? I'm fine. My name is, my age is, this is my husband. This is my wife. These are my children. Do you have any children? I keep flipping. Looking for the tools to express my situation. I am married. I am engaged. This is my boyfriend. Flip. The next section is called Basic Conversation. How was your winter? Your food is tasty. How many goats do you have? Can you show me how to make cheese? Suddenly I wonder just what in the hell I was thinking. Day 1. The bus ride south from Ulaanbaatar takes hours, and we stop only twice to pee. The men fan out into the countryside, facing away from the wind. Both times we stop, there is just one pit toilet in an outhouse with only 3 sides, but the bus driver warns us that he won't wait long. So most of the women squat in plain sight. By mid-afternoon, we've arrived in Mongolia, and the driver ushers us off the bus and quickly dumps all of the bags and boxes stored below into the street. A smiling woman steps out of a camo green hippie van and approaches me, drawn to my whiteness. Senbeno, I greet her, and her smile transforms her whole face. Her warmth is genuine, and my journey has begun. After a quick stop at her home for a meal of noodles and meat dumplings, I am back in the van, bouncing over the countryside. 3 children, ages 2 to 9, and a young woman with Down syndrome have joined me in my journey for the first leg. None of them wears a seatbelt, not even the baby. He crawls from row to row in the van, and the older children comfort him each time a big bounce knocks him to the floor. The woman who first welcomed me had stayed home, and my driver now is a middle-aged man with a belly, his eyes fixed in front. There's no real road that I can see, just a ribbon of thin, packed dirt that winds its way through patches of low vegetation, sand, and rocks. At times, the ribbon vanishes altogether, and the driver just presses on, following a sense of direction inscrutable to me. After 90 minutes of bouncing up and down, steadying myself with my hands on the dashboard, trying not to think about the baby or the other children or safety whatsoever, we arrive at the first stop, a solitary ger squatting in the hollow of a rocky knoll. We park in a cloud of dust, which the wind sweeps quickly away. The children race to greet the new family, and for a moment, I am forgotten. I open the van door and step down. I gasp as the wind cuts through my clothing, taking a scalpel to my flesh. It's August. I suck air back into my lungs, awake, alert, overwhelmed by the scale of the scene in front of me. The view is bigger than the biggest thing that I have ever seen. The word vast feels so pathetic, so tiny. This is the most humongous landscape that I have ever witnessed. I feel swallowed. But also, in the bigness, in the remoteness, in the arid emptiness, there's something familiar. It feels like Wyoming. It's like Colorado. The air is the same. The ground is the same. The plants are similar. It even smells the same. In every direction, as far as I can see, there is space. I feel gleefully, blissfully free. The new family looks up at me briefly and smiles, but they're busy roping goats by the throat. It's time for milking. They bind the goats into a complicated but beautiful rope lattice, which organizes the entire herd into 2 lines facing each other, their tails and udders pointing toward the outside. The adults and all the children fall into a rhythm, passing out small plastic pails and chatting casually in Mongolian. Together, they move down the line, goat by goat, alternately tugging at 2 pink teats until sharp streams of hot milk zing into the bucket below. My driver motions for me to drop my backpack and join them. I do. The wife gives me a small stool. Everyone else squats. Now, obviously, I can't do it. My goat stamps her feet and tries to squeeze her haunches together to keep me away. When I pull on her teats, nothing happens. The woman with Down syndrome comes and squats next to me and smiles. She reaches her hands under her goat and starts tugging. She smiles again, tries to show me her technique. I stare at her, her black hair whipping around her face in the wind. She is astonishingly beautiful, and my heart catches in my throat. My goat stamps her foot again and tries to kick my bucket away. My friend laughs and takes over. I am dependent, I realize. That night, I am left alone in a second ger. I'm pretty sure that this is the family's main sleeping quarters. But to honor me as their guest, they all move to the main ger and sleep in a circle around the stove, uprooted but warm, periodically feeding twisted roots and dried animal dung into the flames. All night, I shiver and shudder, alone on a carpet on the floor, cocooned in a crappy rented sleeping bag, wearing all of my clothes. I drift fitfully in and out of consciousness. The howling of the wind is the howling of the dogs, is the howling of the snarling of wolves. And no, Andrea, you do not need to pee. You're okay. Just wait for day. I have no idea when I'm expected to rise. So I set a daily alarm for 7:30 a.m. and I hope for the best. Finally, dawn. My joints creak and everything hurts. I pull out my tour booklet, which contains a small paragraph outlining the schedule for each day. Because of the language barrier, the booklet is my only real source of information. Hopefully, this will give me a good idea of what to expect. After breakfast, you will have a great morning of desert trekking for 2 kilometers to the next nomadic family. 2 kilometers, okay, that's not bad. I actually am not at all confident that I have the ability to trek across the Gobi Desert. I didn't train leading up to the trip at all, and I'm not really sure why I paid to do a desert trekking tour in the first place, actually, but here we are moving on. During this leg of the journey, your nomad guide will take your luggage by his motorbike. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is a great opportunity to absorb the wondrous environment of the Gobi Desert. Enjoy the silence and marvel at the pristine desert ecology that has roots dating back to 65 million years ago. Well, yeah, because, of course, 65 million years ago, before that, there was no Gobi Desert, just lots and lots and lots of dinosaurs and swamps and a thriving, complex global ecosystem, blissfully unaware that a massive asteroid was hurtling through space, about to drop the curtain on the whole affair. But at lunch, you will have a chance to learn a national Mongolian game called shagai. It is a lot like the game marbles, but played with the ankle bones of sheep. I'm sorry. Looking forward to that. After lunch, Mr. Sogar will guide you for 10 kilometers by camel cart to Mr. Gunsambu's family. Once you arrive, they will serve you with hot nomadic tea and burtsog, a snack similar to fried donut holes. Amazing. Later, they will show you how to make traditional ropes using sheep wool and wooden carvings before serving your evening meal. Well, that should be a great way for me to explore my own inadequacy. Can't wait. Before you retire to your gear for the night, and if you brought a ball along, this is a great opportunity to play some volleyball with the kids. If I brought a ball along, I'm traveling with a backpack. Where in the fuck am I going to keep a volleyball? It's mid-morning, and I am trekking across the desert with the mom, while the dad drives ahead, my luggage strapped to his motorbike. Early this morning, when I emerged from my ger, the mom fed me a quick breakfast of sour cheese and fried dough. When the dad picked up my luggage and promptly drove away with it, I knew that must mean it was time to go. It's day 2, and I realize that this is going to be the routine. Someone will gesture at me, and I will follow. Someone will hand me a plate of food, and I will eat. Someone will point, and I will shrug, and they will point again, and I will have a question, but I won't be able to ask it, and so I'll have to guess. And I can tell I've guessed wrong, but it's close enough, and it's too hard to get it exactly right, so we both just smile. And then they go back to their work, which never ends, and I pick up my book or my journal, or I just walk alone in never-ending, widening circles away from the ger before spiraling back, just in case there's something else I'm supposed to be doing with my time. Right now, I'm just supposed to be walking, following the mom. I feel this sense of boundless freedom. The sky springs in a gasping arc, a full extension from east to west and north to south. It's a salad bowl inverted over endless grass. I am free and just a fumbling thing, a speck on the wild, bright earth. I can make up songs if I want to, and throw rocks at goats to get them to move like the kids taught me to do. and I can roll my ankle in unfamiliar boots and get whipped in the face all day long with stray hairs that escape my braid, and I am just one more thing out here, just one more inconsequential thing. And that fact doesn't make me feel sad or alone. It makes me feel calm. It makes me feel like I'm a part of something bigger. After an hour of walking, and decidedly more than 2 kilometers, the mom delivers me to what appears to be an arbitrary spot in the middle of nowhere. Except, somehow, a little old lady is waiting for me, leading 2 Bactrian camels on ropes. The beasts loom, each one double-humped. The dad is there too, leaning against his motorcycle. He's already strapped my backpack and sleeping bag into the valley between the 2 humps of one of the camels. The old lady tugs hard at the rope of the remaining camel, and it grunts and snorts and then kneels awkwardly on the ground. First the front legs buckle and bend, and then the back. The woman points, and I pray to every god, to every fairy queen, every tree sprite and Roman Catholic saint, and I climb on top of that camel, straddling its scratchy hide, and I perch atop a small piece of red carpet slung between the 2 humps. I clutch the camel's fur in both hands, wonder what exactly is wrong with me and why I'm here, but too late, the camel pitches forward, straightening its back set of legs first. I can't help it. I swear, I curse, I imagine my own death. Fuck my fucking life! But I'm up, I'm on. Okay, all 3 Mongolians are laughing at me, holding their sides. I smile. I'm happy to play the fool. At least I have 10 kilometers to catch my breath before I have to think about getting down. We stop for lunch at the old woman's ger, and she serves me goat's milk with 3 different kinds of goat cheese. Not creamy, spread on crackers. Delicious, amazing, crumble in a salad goat cheese. No, she serves me arul. Arul is hard, yellow, sour goat cheese curds stamped out into sheets and then cut into squares. Next, she skims a creamy white foam off the top of boiled goat's milk, and then she spreads that on the arul like a butter. So that's cream spread on cheese. She then hands me a cup of Mongolian milk tea, which is actually just milk, but boiled and with some salt and a few tea leaves thrown in. And finally, she provides me with a scoop of harder, yellower, almost brown, crumbly mini goat cheese curds that have the texture of BB pellets. These seem, of course, inedible, but I watch as she spoons hers into her tea and then leaves them there to soak. She gestures that I should do the same. And this is lunch. Sometimes breakfast, sometimes dinner, sometimes snack. Arul is offered to me multiple times a day, every single day, as both a meal, a snack, and a candy. By the time I finally arrive at Mr. Gunsambu's family, I am wiped out, but beginning to surrender to how little I know or can possibly understand. Mrs. Gunsambu beams with kindness, and she embraces me with warmth and hospitality, laughing and chattering. She brings out photo albums, yearbooks, shows me sports medals that her kids have won. She wants to know about my life, so I tell her, Bi Gochindolo, 37, Bi Zyohoch, writer, yes. Bi Amerik, USA. She smiles with appreciation and then draws me diagrams, pictures of experiences that they've had together as a family. If I don't understand, she starts sketching it out, looks at me and points and smiles, and we're communicating, and we don't totally understand, but we do enough. We kind of do. And I think this is why I do this, right? This is why I'm here. This is why I have to come this far. So I can look at someone and realize that as much as we have nothing in the world in common, of course we have everything in the world in common. Her sons are out on the steppe with tiny little binoculars, but with only one lens. What do you call a binocular with only one lens? A nocular? These are the things that I wonder alone. It's just one little lens, and it's attached to a silk scarf in which it can be wrapped for protection. I see this again and again on my journey. At some point, each of my hosts will pull out a silk-covered lens out of their pocket, unwrap it, squint, and scan the landscape, looking for the herd. Because this is real free range, right? The goats, the sheep, the horses, the camels, in the morning, they go. And where they go, no one knows. And every night, you have to go find them again and bring them back home so you can pen them up and protect them, of course, from the wolves. Right before sunset, the family brings out a volleyball. The mom and two sons and the dad and I all play volleyball as this insane sunset splits the sky. And it's a perfect day. The next morning, we all smile and hug and greet each other with, Ugluni mind, Ugluni mind. The husband spends 2.5 hours hand carving a tiny camel out of wood, and then he gives it to me as a parting gift. The itinerary says today we'll travel by horse, but Mongolian horses are so tiny, the saddle's so tight. Time might be tight as well because the family rolls out the motorbike and begins to strap down my bag. I'm frankly relieved to not have to ride the little horse. I feel my bigness here. My pants are tight, my body sore, my hips ache from the camel ride the day before. There are no Western chairs anywhere. The only furniture here are these tiny little stools, maybe a foot off the ground. I keep knocking my head going in and out of the gears, or I scrape my back, and there's a small threshold that you have to step over, and I trip more often than not. Even the motorbikes are tiny, and just getting on and off, I can feel myself crushing underneath me, and I worry that it will capsize. I'm not actually always bigger than the Mongolians. Mongolians can be big people, very big, strong people. I'm not always bigger than them, but I'm not nearly as fluid. I'm less flexible. My knees are in a constant state of stress from the squatting or the sitting on stools. I struggle with that familiar loathing cut with yearning, a dance between self-compassion and despair. Being able to do more would be worth being lighter, being thinner. But my faith that being able to maintain a lifestyle that would give me those results is shot. It should be simple, right? There should just be 2 questions. What do you want? What are you willing to do to get it? I would gladly eat fewer goat milk curds, less of that cheesy stuff they skim off the top, less all Mongolian cheese, really. 13 kilometers by bike, and now we've stopped for lunch. We're on our way to the 3rd overnight family. This stop is just the lunch family. They don't have an extra gear. The poverty is more evident. I can see the squalor. The children have dirty clothes on. The baby is not wearing a diaper or any pants at all. But they have 100 goats and sheep, so I don't think they're necessarily poor. I have so many questions. I want to know, do you go to school? Where is your school? How far is your school? How do you get married? How do you meet your spouse? Where do you have sex? You all live in the same room. How do you have a baby? Does somebody come and help you do that? How often do you go to town? Where are your grown children? Is this all you eat? What about nutrients? Is anyone gluten-free here? Of course, I can't get any answers, so I just start keeping a really intimidating, exhaustive list of questions. I've given the 2 little kids paper and markers. The dad is currently peering into the countryside with his silk-wrapped lens. He has a real soft spot for the baby. Maybe she's 8 months old. There's another baby there too, and he is burning up with a fever, nursing a bad cough. The whole time I'm there, he lies on a blanket in a patch of strong sunlight on the floor. Nobody touches him. Nobody moves him. Finally, as I see him squalling, moving his head side to side, I go over and slowly drag the blanket into the shade. I watch as the other baby pees on the floor, held awkwardly in the arms of a 3-year-old. I point to show a grown-up. The mom looks and does nothing. The afternoon post-lunch malaise sets in. Someone gestures at me to lie down and go to sleep. I sit still, though, instead, not ready to sleep, not really comfortable sleeping in a room of 7 strangers. So I read, I draw, or I just watch what they're doing, which no one really seems to mind. Finally, a man with a motorbike arrives, scoops up my big bag, and begins to strap it down to the back of his bike. It's time to go again. The man ropes the backpack and the sleeping bag down, and I make rushed goodbyes to the family who are all engaged in other activities and don't seem to care whatsoever. So I swing my leg over the motorbike, feeling the pinch of my waistband cutting into my skin. These hiking pants have no stretch, and I'm thinking about my knee pulled too tightly and how likely it is that it could slip out while we're driving. So I just self-soothe as we move, whispering, "You're fine. You're fine, you're fine." I say it out loud, "You're fine." My hands are on the driver's hips, one on each side. We are zipping down a thin white stripe of track, just as wide as a single motorbike tire. You know, originally they did tell me this would be a trekking trip. I was prepared, I had the boots. I was like, this isn't really gonna be that fun. I'm not really a hiking person, but I'm like from Colorado, but not really like that. But you know, I was like, it's worth it. You gotta try certain things, right? So I thought, I'll do it. I'm gonna walk across Mongolia. This is something that I wanna do. But other than that first day where I walked those few kilometers, almost everybody is like, put her on the bike. Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and put her on the bike. So that's fine. I get to ride a motorcycle, right? And I love it because there's no seat belts, it's just air. We're flying. The gear vanishes into our rear view, replaced with unending green and yellow hills, rocks and boulders clustered together like gossiping friends. The landscape goes on and on and on. The speed is intoxicating. The driver takes one hand off of the handlebars and uses it to pull my hands tightly around his waist. I'm surprised, but it must be for safety, so I hold on tightly. He places his hand on top of mine and starts to press my hands down toward his crotch. No, that's not for safety. And this isn't cultural. No, I know what this is. He's trying to get me to touch him. We're flying. 50 kilometers an hour is fast enough on a small machine, fast enough for me to think twice about yanking my hands away and tipping our balance. I resist him, trying to keep my clasped hands perfectly centered at his navel. He takes his hand off of mine and instead begins stroking my left thigh, my skin taut, wrapped in the sausage casing of 2 tight pants. What can I do? Don't kick out, don't freak out, don't move, don't tip over the bike. I tell myself, it'll be over soon, which is a coping mechanism born out of desperation. I pick up every mental rock. What are my options? His hand is still stroking, squeezing, teasing my thigh. I want to fling him off, an unwanted insect, a slithering snake. But I am paralyzed. The speed of the motorbike no longer liberating, but dangerous. The driver looks off to the right side of the road at an arbitrary mound of earth. He tips his head in my direction and over the roar of the wind, in English, says, "Photo." Photo. He wants me to believe that we're going to pull over to take a photo of that swell of ground, that acre of nothingness. He turns the wheel and we leave the path, pulling out of sight behind a hill. And that's when I know that I'm dead. I'm dead. I must be dead. This is it. Finally, it's my turn. I'm about to be raped, overpowered, taught a lesson. What the fuck was I thinking? How could I have come here? I was a fool, a child, to think that I could come this far, somewhere this remote, and stay safe. I'm arrogant, stupid, and I'm about to be punished, and nobody knows where I am. He cuts the engine, and before we're fully stopped, I'm already swinging my leg off and off the seat and backing away. He bounds off the bike and heads right for me, arms reaching for my breasts. No, wait, please, hang on as I stumble backwards and try not to fall. Do not, under any circumstances, trip and fall, or he's got you. Where's my knife? My knife is in my pocket. And I understand suddenly my knife is there to kill me. I don't know how to use a knife as a weapon. It's a ruse. It's a joke. It's an illusion of safety. I can barely chop vegetables, but he will know how to use the knife. If I get it out, it will only escalate the situation. It's not time yet. No, not time yet. I'm not sure how bad it needs to get, but surely it is not time yet. If I use the knife, I get just one shot, and I'll have to be close, because that's the only shot I got. But will I kill him? How will I survive? I have no idea where I am. Can't say where I've come from. Don't know where I'm going. I doubt I could survive the night. I don't know how to drive that bike. And all of this is instant, right? Not even thoughts, but things I know. They're in my blood as I say, no, wait, please, no. He reaches toward me with his palm and mimes wiping me from crotch to crown, a gesture lewd and crude and cruel and coarse. Says something in Mongolian, perhaps a preposition, and I click the smallest bit of mental clarity. In Mongolian, I shout, "Ugui!" He stops advancing, and I stop too. An animal who can't outrun her predator, but still will not lay down. He stares at me but does not move. I keep one arm outstretched in caution, and then I remember. I have a weapon more useful than my knife. A weapon, old and familiar. A weapon I know how to wield well. I am a woman, and to him I am not real. He sees me as a possession, an object, a target. It takes almost nothing to grow into a goddess. I am shaking, heart beating fast, but still I cast a spell on him. I know how to make a man feel like he's in power, like I'm wowed by the force of his ideas. I reach slowly into my pocket and I bring out my phone. Pretend I don't know the game we're playing. I point to that little hill beside us. Photo, I say. Remember, you wanted to stop for a photo? What a great idea. You're so powerful. You're so in control. I'm going to follow your lead. I want to take this important photo, and I do. Snapping a moment of nothing, an anonymous rise in the dirt, in the Gobi Desert, in Mongolia, in Middle Asia, on planet Earth. I'm so glad we stopped here. This is something I really wanted to see. He's standing next to the bike again. And now I'm coy, smiling at one corner of my mouth, flirting just enough to bring him close enough to keep him at bay. Photo, I say again, and I take his picture, knowing I will turn him in. I put my phone back in my pocket next to my knife, and I look at him. He is standing at the bike, looking at me. I don't know what else to do but get back on the bike. I approach slowly, waiting for the game to change again, but it does not. He mounts. I swing my leg, over the saddle and sit pressed against his back, the whole length of our bodies touching. And as we lurch forward, each acceleration drives him further into the spoon of my body. A terrible thought. Is he the dad? Are we on our way to his ger? Will he stop again, somewhere worse? Somewhere even further off the road? My hands are gripping his hips. My mind becomes untethered. Not 10 minutes later, we arrive at the next ger. A smiling, kind-eyed man approaches with his family to welcome me, and I rush toward them, stumbling. A few quick pulls on the ropes, and my luggage is dumped in the dust. The motorbike driver exchanges a few words with the family and disappears. 2 little boys, 6 and 8 years old, maul me with enthusiasm and love. I chuck colored pencils and paper in their direction and collapse on the floor, shaking, writing as fast as I can in my journal, grasping at anything solid. I have never felt so foolish, so stupid, and so alone. Safety is an illusion. It's always an illusion. It is always amazingly near and impossibly far. And now the brothers draw and cut and paste, and I am thinking about the most masculine men I know and wishing that they were here with me, wishing that I didn't have to answer again and again at every single ger. No, I have no husband. No, I have no children. No, I get it. I am not safe as a woman unmanned. I am anchorless with no children, exposed to the elements with no partner. I am unprotected. That night, alone in the family's second ger, I try to lock my door with a single piece of string. Outside, the wind howls, and I wish that I could go home. The next day, I wake up feeling anxious, and over time, it just gets worse. Terrorizing thoughts clatter and clamor inside of my skull, looping and re-looping. At some point today, I will have to continue to the next ger. Will it be him again? Will he pull up on his motorbike and expect me to swing my leg over his saddle? Telling myself to just go with the flow and see what happens is impossible, the naive dream of a child. My knife is in my pocket, laughable, pointless. I remember my old recurring dreams from college. I am trying to defend myself against a man, and I am lashing out again and again, punching him. But my arms are like jelly, and I swing, and I swing, and I swing, and I can't hurt him. The 2 little brothers are always at my heels everywhere. I feel safe when I am with them, but I can't shake their presence. So I collect bones from the yard. I paint them with my markers, transforming them into makeshift toys. Sheep vertebrae become an airplane and a butterfly. A section of skull becomes a 4-door car. This jawbone, a train. The brothers are enthralled. They play my game, but I am grim. It's putting lipstick on a pig, painting bones. Finally, I pretend that I have to pee. I pick up my Tom's toilet kit and I pretend, just so I can ditch the children long enough to go into the desert and have a rough, dirty cry. And I sit there in the desert, shoulders shaking, rattled, racing, thinking, I wish I had a man to protect me from men. Thinking, I'm bigger than half the men I know. Can I protect myself? Thinking, could a woman protect me, or are we both exposed? I can't remember anything that I used to want before this moment. I am saturated with my desire for a partner. I'm sick of being alone, of stomping around the world like I have something to prove. I want to be claimed, cared for, picked, possessed. Yes, I can go it alone if I'm willing to walk with my fists clenched, my car keys wedged between my fingers. But I'm tired of moving through the world braced for impact. In my heightened fear, my perfect partner grows into a glowering god. He's not just masculine, he's the fucking brawny paper towel guy. He's big and burly and beautiful with a beard and an axe. I hunger for maleness and shrink from the patriarchy. This is cognitive dissonance, a mental Chinese finger trap, and both sides keep pulling and neither will yield. I think about my father, dead these 10 years. I think how furious he would be that I could feel this scared, this utterly powerless. He would tell me to defend myself, to square up maybe, stand my ground, and don't let anybody pull anything, which I guess is what I did-ish. What if I cry all day? How far do I have to get away from here before I feel okay again? My loneliness and exhaustion and soreness are all compounded by menstrual cramps, but earlier when I thought to myself, you're okay, it's just hormones, I recoiled. Don't do that, I thought. Don't use their weapons against yourself. Don't try to make your fear small or insignificant or your fault. And so I let myself wail, helplessly, raggedly, thinking I'll never be free, not in this life, but in my head a tiny nagging whisper, do you really think that men feel free? Sometimes yes, more free than me. But don't we make them rough and cold and raw? Don't we sharpen their edges until they're a blade, as sure as I'm made to play the damsel? Why do I always have to be me? Why can't I turn my brain off? After crying, I feel better. My anxiety released to sweep across the steppe. I make a decision. If he comes, I will refuse to go. I will have to try to tell the mom what happened. If he doesn't come, then I will wait. And I will tell the tour company when I get back to the capital 8 days from now. I return to the Gare, resigned, but resilient. Only now, looking back, do I see that I could have chosen to go home. At the time, I just thought of moving further ahead and further away. That afternoon, the family packed me into their van and drove me to my next stop themselves. My heart soared with gratitude and relief. On the way, we stopped in a little valley, and I found an eagle feather caught in a bramble. I pulled it free. I am in the heart now of Igazrin Chulu, a protected national park whose name means big rocks. And big they are. The landscape looks like the planet from the movie The Dark Crystal. It's all spires and layers aching toward the sky. The boulders are fused together in lumpy piles, and they're cross-cut with these other layers where the rocks have tipped or turned. I want to know everything about the geology, unpack its chronology, but I know almost nothing, and it's impossible to ask. It's day 4, feels like 400, and my guide is a mostly silent 79-year-old man who walks with his hands folded behind his back and smokes. His boots are gorgeously tooled, magenta-colored leather, cut in the Mongolian style with the toes upturned. But when I mention that I like them, he points at mine instead and motions good, then gives his the little finger. Been out trekking with my guy about 3 hours now in silence. It's very hot. I brought only 1 bottle of water because, as usual, I have almost entirely no idea what's going on. Almost immediately after meeting him, my host left his gear and started walking, motioning for me to follow. So I slung my day pack over my shoulder and fell into step in a state of surrender behind him, as I have learned to do. It turned out to be no small jaunt, but a proper 3-hour hike in the midday sun. Somehow, just in these few hours, this guy has already grabbed my boob and tried to kiss me. But at the time, we were high on a cliff, and I thought to myself, I'll just kill him if I have to. I'll push him over the side. But of course, that plan is complicated by the reality that I might die without him because I don't know where we are, and we've been out hiking for hours away from the Gare, and I don't know how to get back. My idea of what's normal is currently broken. I confuse coping with living, but I don't have a choice. So we trek to the strange Ark Memorial with the standing slab engraved with language I don't understand and writing I couldn't read, and the piles and piles of stones piled into a careening cairn that they call an uva. And we trek to an open-air theater where he left me for almost an hour while he chatted with some workers. And then we trek, climbing up, past the dead goat skeleton, which is clearly death by fall, and up to a cave with a little tiny sacred ornaments inside and money. And then he asked for a selfie. And then he tried to kiss me. And now he's smoking, and I'm out of water, and he hasn't had any. So I'm promising myself not to quit before the 79-year-old. I want to think about rocks, about time layered in stripes of stone, but I'm possessed by this violation, my sexual life force that I can't seem to give away, but that I also can't bear to have stolen from me. I want to be desirable, but not dominated. I want to be curious, unencumbered. I want to pick up bones and put them in my backpack to sneak through customs as gifts for my nieces and nephews. I want to collect rocks and sort them by size and type and color. I want to chase the lizards and catch them by the tail. I want to try and fail to draw the sunset. I want to snap photographs on my phone because I don't want to be burdened by gear. I just want to carry nothing. I want to be free. I want to meet you, and I want you to meet me, two human beings, eye to eye, and struggle to struggle. I want to know why you would want to touch me as if I'm a thing. How did you go from a small, curious child collecting rocks I'll bet my life to this dark-eyed, grasping man? I am lonely, and this old man is lonely. We're not so different. And even as I cringe as he cups my breast and smiles, even as I calmly but firmly set his hand aside, I know the truth is that I am lonely and he is lonely, and we are both lost in the steppe, hurting. We are both trying to survive alone. He is pounding life back into dried strips of goat meat, maybe driving himself mad each day with the rhythm his dead wife used to keep. And I am sharpening colored pencils and leaving the improbably huge shavings to scatter to the wind. And he is groping and grasping and thinking that maybe a wife will fix it, maybe just a woman to help brace against the wild wind, some company on those endless nights when the snow falls and won't stop falling. I'm calling him TikTok, my host, because he looks kind of like that mustachioed robot from the movie Return to Oz. TikTok doesn't have a second Gare, and if he does have a family, they aren't here. It's just the two of us. And I'm starting to think that this isn't a temporary stop before we continue on. I'm starting to think that I'm going to be spending the night in this single Gare with this single guy. Soon it will be dark. TikTok builds a bed on the floor for himself and gives me his wooden bed frame with no mattress, which is an honor, a very hard, unforgiving honor. TikTok is giving me his bed, but he'll also be sleeping just 6 feet away. And also he put his hand on my thigh, and he also brought up the kiss again when he saw our selfie on my phone. He sees me writing and gives me a thumbs up. He puts his hand under my skirt to squeeze my calf. I say, "Oogwee," with a smile. He repeats, "Oogwee," and gives me a thumbs up. Maybe 12 days was too long. The idea that it's about to get better keeps resurfacing, a coping mechanism born not out of reality nor my experience. I wish it weren't consuming, that I could talk more about the dinosaur landscape, those hidden caves, the crunch of gravel underfoot, how the ground changes with each eroded layer. But rage erupts out of me every few minutes. My own culture is full of this shit. The whole world is full of it. Grandpas squeezing butt cheeks and young men flashing schoolgirls. The stranger on the crowded train in Turkey who stood behind me, reached low, and pinched me between my legs. The friend in college who entered my room in the night and woke me from my sleep with his fumbling touch, whispering that I was everybody's girl. How could the tour office say they've never had an issue when I asked them if it was safe to travel as a woman alone? But also, why did I bother to ask when I already know how this works? I escape the close quarters of the Gare and sit outside on a mound of rocks in the dying light. I feel heavy, dull. My mind is looping from rocks to rape and back again. Geology is layered. The oldest layer is on the bottom, just like baggage, buried deep. Concretions accumulate around a small, dead thing, and they grow and grow, starting as a single moment of time, but collecting stories like sediment. Usually, I would want to excavate to the deeper meaning, to dig down to the oldest layers, unearth long-forgotten truths that yank the word eureka from my lips. But in reality, not every question has an answer. Millions of years vanish sometimes from the record. You're digging down layer by familiar layer, and suddenly 70 million years are just gone. And it isn't neat and tidy when we're dealing with wind and rain and erosion, when we're swimming through swamps and sinking in tar pits. It isn't pretty. It isn't pat. Mountains don't erode at equal rates. Rivers don't run in straight lines. 70 million years are missing. And I can't stop thinking about being violated, about being pinned down, about wanting to be protected, regardless of whether or not I'm big enough to protect myself. I don't want to have to protect myself. I may be a warrior, but I am ready and willing to learn a new role because I don't want to get good at using knives. I just want to not need them. When I was a kid in the early 80s, I remember learning that no one knew how the dinosaurs died. At that time, it was one of the great mysteries of science. Mighty beasts reigned over land and sea for 165 million years until the last chapter of their story was missing. Someone had torn out the pages. But a theory was forming. In the late 1970s, people saw a pattern in the shape of the cenotes in Mexico. Cenotes are sinkholes, beautiful, turquoise-colored pools connecting a network of underground caves deep in the Yucatan jungle. Scientists realized the pools marked a collapsing shell of limestone shaped like a smooth, symmetrical scar. Viewed from above, the topography was clear. The ridges were rings radiating away from a central source of impact. A collision so intense that for a moment it caused the land to behave like liquid. If the scientists were right, there should be a source, a strike point, ground zero. In the Gulf of Mexico, buried under 600 meters of sediment and seawater, they found it. A crater caused by an asteroid striking the Earth. The crater was 180 kilometers across. The asteroid, they figured, was 10. The irony is brutal. Had the asteroid only struck land, perhaps the devastation might have been localized. Had it only struck deep ocean instead of a shallow sea, perhaps the water would have swallowed the brunt of this unwanted force. Perhaps we could have avoided the earth-shattering impact equivalent to 100 trillion tons of TNT. 2 minutes earlier or later of the Earth turning on its axis, and perhaps there would have been no vaporized gypsum, no chemical rain, no sulfur, no sand, no blast of thermal radiation causing all vegetation within 1,000 kilometers to spontaneously combust. No 600-mile-an-hour wind, no 1,000-foot tsunami, no perfect storm of grit and ash that shielded the sun like a shroud and crippled photosynthesis, which killed the plants, which killed the herbivores, which killed the carnivores, which tipped the balance until 75% of life on Earth collapsed. Bodies rotting, brackish water, a wasteland of dust and ash. Endgame. 2 minutes, earlier or later. And we mammals might have been the never-weres, just figments, brightly lit filaments in dinosaur dreams. Sometimes we are impacted, jarred so hard that everything liquefies. Everything moves away from the point of pain. But if the impact doesn't kill us, that doesn't mean that we are safe. We might survive and stand under the sky and stare, grit in our teeth and ash in our hair as the smoke darkens the sun. After the asteroid, it took a week for all the food in the oceans to die. It took just slightly longer to lose all food on land. The dinosaurs died slowly. No tree stars, no green valley. To kill time before time kills me, I take an inventory of my day pack as of this exact moment. I note each item carefully in my journal with all the formality of an obituary. 1 empty water bottle, my purple journal, blue pencil case filled with colored pencils and markers, 1 glue stick, small first aid scissors, 1 sharpener. Tom Shoe's bathroom kit currently contains 1 pack wet wipes, 1 pack toilet tissue, 3 overly large sanitary pads from Ulaanbaatar grocery store, 4 tampons, and 1 bag toilet and garbage to pack out instead of leaving to rot in the desert. Garbage includes approximately 4 used tampons, 3 used pads, and a bunch of used toilet paper. I confess I did throw some of my tampons in the pit toilets. The book I'm reading, Waiting on a Train, about rail transportation. The tour company booklet and Mongolian dictionary, my wallet containing my passport and about 400,000 Mongolian tugrik, which is approximately $200, a broken shard of blue and white china I picked up on the trail, 2 small rocks, 1 yellow, 1 gray, I picked up yesterday while walking, a black rock with a creamy white stripe I picked up today, a reddish rock with a perfect red-brown layer in the middle, the lower half of a goat jawbone I collected planning to paint. And finally, 1 elephant print pouch with 2 sets of glasses, regular and sun, the carved wooden camel, a small carabiner with a travel-size sunscreen, hand sanitizer and chapstick, my travel hairbrush, and a sandwich baggie of snacks, including Ghirardelli's chocolate squares, caramel and sea salt, Cliff Bar, Lara Bar, Chinese candies from Beijing, and orange-flavored Lifesavers for gifts. Also in this pouch is another trash bag with wrappers in the peel for 1 mandarin orange, a paisley purple handkerchief, a half-eaten bag of dried fruit, and 2 cloves and 1 herbal cigarette that my friend Holly gave me in Denver. I look up from my writing. The setting sun is smoky, grim. On the rock in front of me, I have arranged my army of objects, proof I exist. I say I want to carry nothing, that that's what it would take to feel free. But in reality, that isn't me. Day 5, and I am saved. I am in a house, not a gare, in a town with women and standard shitty furniture and weird calendars and a Mickey Mouse cuckoo clock, and a TV, and an armoire filled with pointless crap, and the whole house feels like it could fall down in a storm, and I love it. I recognize it. I've seen it. In Uganda, in Mauritania, in South America, this feels familiar, and nobody here has tried to touch me. The itinerary said somebody named Mr. Mundun Shagai would give me a tour of the town, but he turned out to be a 12-year-old girl, and I couldn't be more grateful. She tried out her English, gave me a tour of her school, and smiled the whole time. No one has asked me about children or husbands. I drew water from a well and washed my load of laundry by hand. And then, joy, I washed my hair. And now I'm riding on the sofa with Mongolian TV playing in the background, and I am being blissfully ignored. No one even bothers to introduce themselves. I'm in heaven. You should see this fucking chandelier. Eastern Europe in the 80s could not do better. Oh, and they have flowers and a little garden, and I ate a cucumber. A fucking cucumber. It was the first non-goat, non-dairy, non-fried dough food I've had in 5 days. Feels like 50. From here until the end of the trip, the distances between the stops are longer. So they've given me back my jolly driver from the very first day. He skids to a stop in the hippie van, blasting Mongolian pop music, a twinkle in his eye and a laugh on his lips. This time, I ask his name, and I repeat it over and over again until I can remember it. Jambarla. 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 I might be getting it wrong. I keep forgetting that we don't actually speak the same language because we make jokes all day and we actually understand them. He's playful and friendly and more than a little mischievous. He caught a lizard on the ground and then threw it on my jacket. It scrambled across my chest and down my arm before I unwittingly launched it into space. It flew, and I fear I killed the poor thing, and Lord, how we laughed. Jambarla and I bounce over the steppe in the rattling van, and we listen to the same 6 Mongolian pop songs on repeat, and I feel safe and secure when I'm with him. He keeps offering me arroz out of this little bag that he keeps in the console between the two of us. Eat, eat. It's been at least 5 minutes since you've had some goat cheese curds. Give this a try, why don't ya? Eat. We arrive at the next ger, which squats in the center of a wide, rocky plain. The woman who lives there greets us, then climbs on a motorcycle and drives away. Minutes later, she returns, revving and zooming back and forth on her bike, corralling, incredibly, a herd of camels. They gallop away from her, and she cuts back and forth, herding them closer and closer to the ger. As they near, I realize they're all babies. She is terrorizing a herd of 15 baby camels by motorcycle. The woman parks her bike and then tethers all of the babies to a large rectangle of rope secured to the ground in front of her ger. She then ignores them and goes inside. I am riveted. In the next moment, all of the babies start to cry. It is the bleating of crying baby camels is a cacophony unlike any sound that I have ever heard. And amazingly, about 20 loud and sad minutes later, 15 full-grown camels emerge from the haze of the horizon. My host doesn't need to go chase them. They can hear their babies crying, and they come. Slowly, purposefully, a herd of mother camels marches toward us. My host gets up, ready to work again. She untethers one of the babies and then leads it to the center of the rectangle. Then she waits, ties it down, and waits. One of the camel moms cranes its neck, recognizing her offspring. She makes her way methodically into the middle and stands along the baby's side. The baby starts to nurse. While the baby nurses on one side of the camel, my host milks on the other. In this way, baby by baby and mom by mom, my host milks the whole herd by hand. After filling a few buckets with milk, she gestures toward me as if to say, "Do you want to try? Do you want to try to milk a camel?" Fuck no, okay? I don't want to milk a fucking camel? Sure. Yeah, sure, I say. Right. Why else did you come here, bitch? Right? Why else did you fucking come to Mongolia if not to milk a fucking camel? right? So I'm like standing here, okay, where should I stand? Should I stand right here? Here, is this good? Okay, now it's raining, but that's fine. I can milk a camel in the rain. All right, this is difficult. I had no luck with the goats, but you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. So I pull, okay, I pull again, and I pull again, and I pull again, and I get a hip check from the camel, which hits me in the shoulder. And you know what? I'm good, actually. I'm fine. Yeah. You wanna try again? She gestures, no, I'm fine. I don't need to ever fucking try that again. Thank you. Later that night, I eat fried dough with yak butter dipped in camel milk tea. It is the best thing that I eat on the entire trip. That same meal I also drank fermented camel's milk, however, which unfortunately does not earn a place on my top 10. As I'm sipping the sour, boozy camel's milk from a bowl, I realize that I can think of almost no one I know who I have ever met who could even survive this trip, let alone enjoy it. And then I ask myself, am I enjoying it? Or do I just enjoy that I'm doing it? And why? It feels like an exercise in inadequacy, a relentless lashing against my self-esteem. I am not good at milking camels. I'm not good at milking goats. I'm not good at making cheese. I'm not good at washing clothes by hand. But here, there is a woman who lives alone and rides a motorcycle, and she is willing to teach me to milk a camel. And there is a woman with Down syndrome who smiles and beckons, and she is willing to teach me to milk a goat. And not far from here, there is a woman who uses a car jack as a cheese press and distills vodka in her living room, and she is willing to teach me what she knows. And in town, while my laundry hangs on the line, poorly washed perhaps, there is a woman who stands like a warrior, pulling an arrow across a bow until the feather grazes her cheek. The bow is as tall as she is, a treasured family heirloom. When she releases her fingers, the arrow soars. Her sister and I cheer. She turns to face me, prepared to teach me everything she knows. Back on the road with Jambarla, the relentless bouncing and twisting jolts me out of my head each time I retreat inside. We're following his invisible mental map, and finally we pull over for a break and lunch. I can never tell if he knows the families that we're visiting seemingly in the middle of nowhere, or if he's relying on the kindness of strangers. By now, I understand that my experience with the motorbike driver early in my trip is atypical. Mongolians prize hospitality above all else. Generosity of spirit and possessions is seeped into the culture. I can discern very little difference between greeting a friend and greeting a stranger. And I suppose it makes sense because when you live in the middle of nowhere, everyone has to lean on each other in order to survive. So half the time we show up at a random ger in the countryside, and I think he can't possibly have known how to get here because we've been driving over the steppe for hours without a road, surely not aiming at this. But here we are, and everyone's smiling. There are a lot of people at this particular ger. 2 joined families, I think. 2 women have green eyes like me. Maybe mother-daughter. Jambarla shows me a picture from his own pocket dictionary. A goat, drawn and quartered, all the parts displayed. I smile, I think he's joking, but soon he bids me, come, and then I go. The dad and son mount a motorbike and go to get a goat for the slaughter. I know that. We all know that. But the goat only probably guessed it once they grabbed her by the throat, pulled her back from the rest of the herd that is now scrambling away, leaping over one another in their urgency, riding piggyback where the quarters are tight. The men return then on the motorbike, and the goat is wedged between father and son, wild-eyed. It's a real thing. There's no other way to describe it. Wild-eyed, a goat is riding a motorbike. And it knows that no goat has ever ridden one back. She's never seen it. No goat has ever seen it. Father and son hold the legs while the uncle holds the knife. Quick slit in the chest, then press play, video rolling. Uncle punches his fist down into the chest cavity, digs down, around. He is reaching, searching until he finds the big vein at the back of the spine, and he pulls. Parts are still moving, gas is ejecting, but it's over. I am still rolling, one hand at my mouth. I'm awake, aware I'm alive. I quake, repulsed and retained. Don't turn away, Andrea. Never turn away, I say. So I watch as they butcher her. In an hour it is done. A whole goat, now parts. A single skin, flayed and white side up in the sun, doubles as their work table. The economy of the slaughter is intoxicating. How they break each leg at the knee and saw through the rest, which explains those hooves I keep finding in the desert anytime I'm walking. Haunch, ribs, so easy to cut, head, and inside, a sea of swimming parts, all bagged in fat, spongy but strong. Some parts stay, others get bagged in their own fluid and carried afield. I understand tripe now. I watch a woman clean a stomach by hand, fold over fold, scraping it with a knife, dipping it in water to rinse off the half-digested grass. I see intestines filled and rinsed, squirting shit yard after yard, bile and blood, fat and form, goat unrendered, life extinguished. Until suddenly I think of her and remember she is dead. Veronica is alive, at home, with Jim and the kids in Aurora, watching a movie before bed, chattering about how to fix the broken system, how to make it more fair for more families. Sometimes my friend Josh is alive too, and Jenna, and even my dad, although not as often. Jenna is hiking at the end of the summer, autumn turning warm and orange on the rock face. Josh is sorting through a pile of feathers and stones, each one kept either for their color or their shape. And my dad just flies overhead. The sound of the helicopter rotors whirring, coming, thudding, going away again. Military choppers fly in straight lines, not curves. They're all busy in this waking dream, all of my ghosts. And I keep thinking I really should call them. It's been ages since we've talked. I am in the gare now, reading, resting, obeying the gestures, pantomimed by the family, and suddenly the smell of death is, in this case, delicious. The goat is ready. The family carries platters, the same knives, the bloodstains still on the 4-year-old's hands. The goat dies so that we may live, and we feast in a skid of grease, a slick of meat, fat on bone and gristle, marrow, all the cracking, sucking, careful parsing of parts, smiling, laughter, life ignited. I eat, of course, I eat. But the meat is so rich, too rich. I feel drunk from her flavor. At 4 p.m., we depart. Our next stop is a rocky hillside, literally covered in petroglyphs. 6,000 years of human history is scraped into stone, impossibly preserved. And I am suddenly so fucking sad. The landscape scoops out my insides, exposes my loneliness, my frailty, my sullen heart. In my book, I read about a woman traveling alone on a train. She's unmarried, untethered, she's free. In the book, she describes herself as being jubilantly happy. It jolted me when I read it, how inaccessible it felt to me. I could never imagine feeling jubilantly happy. I crave it, even as I mock it, even as I judge it and dismantle it, but I fear the furrowed brow is mine to wear, and I doubt anything could alter it. Can a furrowed brow be lovable as is, or must it be smoothed out first and uncreased through effort, prayer and meditation and therapy and recovery and organic food and gratitude lists and quiet mornings and early nights and tea with milk and daily water and hiking and biking and sitting and being but not thinking, never thinking? That gift is your curse. Don't do what you do. Don't be as you are, standing tall on a cliff in the Gobi Desert, peering at petroglyphs from thousands of years ago. These artists, these warrior poets, they couldn't just chase the deer. They had to draw the deer. They had to draw the spear. They had to tell the story, even though, yeah, we know, we were all there, Phil. But the artist must draw, must tell, must spell our story out for us, for you and for me and for people thousands of years from now. Just in case they wonder what we cared about, it was this. It moved us, this. Horses and hunting and chasing the deer, because the truth is, we are waiting to die. But in the meantime, we're trying to live. And so yes, we will plunge the knife into the goat, and we will see it slaughtered if it means that we may eat, that we may live another day, that we may have another chance to carve our deeds in stone. In the parking lot, Jambarla opens a plastic bag of more roasted goat, a travel gift from the family. He hands me a section of organ meat and points to his kidney. I eat. I won't sit. Not in the petroglyphs parking lot, not with these knees and these belted shorts that pinch every time I bend. So I pace and I chew the kidney, as always, looking for rocks. He hands me another section and points to his liver. I examine the morsel, its density and gritty interior, how perfectly uniform it seems. As I eat it, one rich, gritty bite after another, I think of Veronica's liver. What did it look like by the time the cancer claimed her fully? I am here in Mongolia, the land of the maybe remedy that was and will forever be out of reach, and I am chewing on a liver, thinking of Veronica, thinking of all of us, of the goat, how we are all truly, mostly guts. I've seen it. It's no exaggeration. We are not even fragile. Fragile is too fortified a word. We are more breakable than that, just barely holding all of it together just under the skin, our laughable sack of defense against life and loss and longing, and once it's cut, it all spills out. Far too big for its borders, inconceivable really, a gushing of shapeless spilling, all curves and softness, all round in our openness, no top bellies or trim limbs, nothing tamed, and we are all alike in this. And I know from just days before that I am as likely as this goat to be delivered to my destiny on an incongruous motorbike, as likely to be held down and split wide and thrust into and spilled, never to be sewn up again, not once really gutted. And this is the heart of the matter. This is the organ meat. At some point, we can never be sewn up again. Jambarla wraps up the bag with the meat inside and hands me one final piece. Half an organ cut down the center. In the sand, he uses his finger to draw it. First one half, and then the other. It takes a full day to fly home, stopping in both Seoul and San Francisco. Flying over the Rockies, the upheaval of geology is so much fresher. All the lines are cleaner, the angles sharper, the edges not so buffed by winds and whipping over kilometers of unspooling steppe. I could never quite shoot the goby the way it appeared before my eyes. Something ancient eluded the lens. The scale was never right. From the air, I see the foothills for what they are, the tiny aftershocks of the great clash that built the Rockies. The waves recede in height as we span the plains, plains that ring different now from a steppe, until the foothills too vanish into Metro Denver. I've been listening to the same song on repeat for the length of the whole flight, prolonging my coming down, my coming around. There's that muffled, muscle-deep sadness again, the one that kept me crying silently on the flight from Korea to California, tears streaming down my cheeks in surrender and exhaustion. The tears won't come this time, not in daylight anyway. Not when Indian summer is gilding my home below me, nature's first gold still green. Colorado catches me, the tribeless girl with no people save those claimed and clutched, her city's sister to the one across the world, the palette of their landscapes shared. And there it is, touchdown, solid ground. The terminal at DIA is Igazrinchulu, reaching up like maybe it's falling down, as if into a well, a full extension of earth to sky. A last grasping gasp towards something growing ever further away. We taxi, moving slowly between states of being. That thing is finished. This thing has yet to begin. For now, we just stay in our seats as instructed, waiting for the ding that means that we are home. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.